Ooh. Hey everybody, so here I am actually on the Champs-Élysées. I'm going to turn this way and there's l'Arc de Triomphe. So I thought this would be kind of a fun place to do my live today. We've actually been out walking all day long, checking out everything behind me here. Let me see, I'll turn slowly so I don't make everybody sick. Here we are on the Champs-Élysées. And here behind me is Yves Saint Laurent, which of course famous designer, and they have a really gorgeous building with all these like mirrored panels, I guess you can probably see. Okay, so today, hopefully was really helpful for everyone. And it was something that's going to be something that you can really go to and think about and use when you start to worry about the fact that maybe you think that you are a person who doesn't quite have exactly what you need to be able to create the life of your dreams. So today we're going to move forward. I've talked a lot about the fact that, or maybe intimated, that we are genuinely connected to our desires right now. So whatever dream life you dream of, whatever you think about, you are connected to those desires right now. You're actually connected to me right now. I'm connected to you right now. But I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. Yeah, there's the l'Arc de Triomphe for anybody who's watching. Ooh la la. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more specifically now. And here, I know I say this, so I kind of geek out on the science on this stuff because it really gets pretty darn cool. And so we're going to talk today about an interesting concept called non-locality and what that non-locality means about how our expectations are impacting the reality that we get right this very moment. So let's start here. So scientists started to do an interesting experiment. After they did the particle detector experiment and they realized that particles were either psychic or they were literally, there was a dual nature to reality. They started thinking about how does one particle essentially sort of react with other particles? How is all this happening at one moment in time? And they did a series of experiments, and I won't go into those, but what the experiments showed is that every single particle in the entire universe literally knows and is reacting to every other particle in the entire universe at the exact moment in time that something affects any particle. Okay, so you can read, if you want to read them more into depth, the science of it, go to principle 3 in the flow method and you'll be able to do that. It doesn't, to me, I love the science, so if you want to geek out on that too, do that. However, the main thing is here, okay, that every particle that's in part of your body right now, let's say, or every particle that is in anything all around you, or indeed every particle in any possible experience that you could want out there. Let's say I just walked by Louis Vuitton here on Champs-Élysées, and there's a line out front. Now, I'm personally just not a luxury bag person, but clearly lots of people are. So let's say you really want a Louis Vuitton purse. Hey, Karen. Let's say you want that, okay? The particles that are in that Louis Vuitton purse right now are actually aware of and being impacted by you and the particles within you at the exact moment that you think of something. So we talked about the particle detector, we talked about expectations. Those expectations are actually impacting every particle in the entire universe the second that you set that expectation, or you think that thought, or you change that affirmation, or whatever it might be, okay? Now, needless to say, this was another one of those big experiments that the science world was like, what the heck? What is happening? And so basically either every particle in the universe is more psychic than the most psychic human you've ever known, or there was something deeper going on. So there's an incredible physics professor, physics theorist really, called David Bohm. And if you guys have ever done any little dives into quantum physics at all, So he basically came up with a theory. It's now the established theory in quantum physics that, in fact, what we're experiencing as separate particles that are reacting to our expectations is actually false. That, in fact, while we can't actually experience it, right? Because we turn on the second we have expectations or awareness or wake up in the morning, our personal particle detectors go on. And so everything pops into being around us. So it's impossible for us to see this. But his theory is that oneness, the oneness of all, is actually the reality. The feeling of things being separate is actually false. But we can never fully see the flowing oneness under everything because of our expectations. Because the second our expectations interact with particles, things are impacted in such a way that we see and experience separation, okay? So, he basically came up with the theory of, and again, it's sort of the accepted science now, of quantum potential. Quantum potential is where literally every bit of information, every bit of potential, everything that you could possibly need to be able to put together any experience of life is located, okay? And so when people talk about that the world, you know, we are all one, that waving oneness is the reality, they're actually right. So we pop into being out of this oneness every day. Okay, so our particles that we experience as separate are not actually separate. Even as we speak, I'm not separate. You're not separate. We're not separate from each other. Even I'm in France and you guys are wherever you are in the world right now. We are not actually separate. We're just experiencing it as separate. So underneath it all is quantum potential. We are all part of that quantum potential right now. That means that no matter what experience of life you desire, you are literally not separate from it. So if you think about it this way, okay? If all of life, the reality of reality is that everything is this flowing oneness, okay? That means that if you can imagine, let's say, you stand in the ocean on the coast of wherever you are, and I stand on the ocean over on some other side of the world, right? Let's say each of us are standing in that ocean. Are we really, truly disconnected? Or are we connected through water? Right? So we are connected. We're connected. The water is continuous. The air we breathe is continuous, but the water is a more solid way of thinking about it, okay? Now think about it this way. Think about every experience of life being a wave in the ocean. Could you take just that one experience, that one wave of life, that one experience out of the ocean and make it separate from everything else? You couldn't. You can experience the wave as separate, you can see the wave as separate, but it's not actually separate. You can't lift it out. The same is true of all of the possible information in the entire universe that you need to be able to code anything you desire in your life. You are right now, even as we are all here, flowing as part of this quantum potential. You are one with all of the frequency of information of any experience you could possibly want. Now, let's take that one step further. So a lot of you might be familiar with Carl Jung, a very famous psychotherapist, I think sort of the father of at least some branches of psychotherapy. And he came up with a concept called the collective unconscious. And his idea was that from the collective unconscious, we essentially as humans sort of pull up these archetypes. And the archetypes are essentially just different aspects of being human, essentially, or different aspects of reality, so to speak, right? But his theory, much like quantum potential, much like David Bohm's, was that all of that is connected. We are all connected through this collective unconscious. Now, in Jung's case, he basically thought that we go back into that flowing oneness when we sleep. And that's where we're accessing these things in dreams. And thus, he had a lot of dreams that were about, moms, and I don't know, Oedipal things and whatnot. So, however, if we combine sort of those two things, and we combine that with the idea of the particle detector, right? That our minds, our expectations are actually the particle detector. That means that you are getting the experiences of life that you are getting because of this unconscious programming that was put into you a long time ago, likely from childhood. So if you think about how you grew up as a child, you had certain things modeled to you, okay? Certain beliefs modeled to you. You had authority figures that told you what your personal power was to be able to do or say things in your life, okay? You had, for instance, I had somebody dear to me in my life. She wanted to be a teacher, okay? And her school counselor told her she wasn't smart enough to be a teacher. Like, all she wanted to be was a teacher. She was not smart enough to be a teacher. That authority figure created in her a belief that she was not smart enough to be a teacher. And guess what? She's not a teacher, okay? That was the experience that she believed in, because inside herself, and even to this day, 50 plus years after this woman said this to her, she still doesn't believe it. And it's not true. She would actually be a really good teacher. She's really kind with kids. She's really good with as a teacher. So that's not true. So what I want you to think about now, just for today, and tomorrow we're going to go a little deeper on how do you actually change these things so that you change the experiences of life that you get. I want you to think about this. I want you to really think about what were the things you were taught as you were growing up? What was modeled to you? So oftentimes I will work a lot with people who end up repeating the exact pattern of their parents, right? So they'll marry the same kind of person, or they'll have the same kind of relationships. They will get the same kinds of jobs. They will have the same kinds of home. They'll repeat it, right? And a lot of times they repeat it because they literally believe inside themselves that's what they deserve. And because they believe that's what they deserve, and that's what they're looking for in the quantum potential, that's what they get. Now, we're going to go into this really deeply, and you're going to be able to literally fine tune this. But in general terms, I want you to think about the idea of quantum potential as being sort of like the TV signal for all the channels in the entire universe, right? So all that is frequency. It's all wave information that's coming into your TV, okay? Your mind and your body, your mind especially, is that which the signal comes in, and it deciphers that information, and it shows you the program, okay? And that program might be experiences that you have in your life. There's my daughter. They've been walking around the L'Arc de Triomphe. And you actually are programmed in to have certain favorite stations that you play all the time. So you may not want those stations, but those are the ones you were programmed to be looking for. So your remote control, your particle detector, is looking for the specific types of programs again and again. That's how people end up in the same marriage as their parents. That's how people end up in the same kinds of jobs and friendships, and having the same exact kind of habits and the same kind of issues. And even it really goes to, and we'll talk more about epigenetics, but it even goes to things like pain and disease. I can actually tell you which one of your parents you are more like just by the kinds of diseases and pain that you get that might be. In fact, I can do it if I just see you with one of your parents. I can tell you whether you're more similar, you've taken on their beliefs, or you have not taken on their beliefs. So I have actually stood there and watched people, and the mom manifested the same thing that the daughter manifested, and they will stand next to each other, and when they're standing, they both sway at it's like a metronome. They are that much in alignment. Their beliefs are exactly the same. So they are actually seeking on their TV of life, their remote control is tuned into the exact same frequency. Now, what we are going to do for the rest of this course is taking your remote control and making sure that you're only tuning into what you want from quantum potential. But I want for you to take today is that, one, you are actually connected to all that you desire. All your particles are connected to everything you could possibly desire. You're connected, you are one, literally one, with all of the information, wave information in the entire universe to pull up any experience of life. We're also going to talk, I think tomorrow, about why that means that everything is abundant. Like there's more than enough for all of us. We all hear this, we'll hear this in like spiritual teachings, but there's actually scientific proof that that's true. We're going to talk about that. So what I want you to do and consider today is, where are you the same? Where do you tune into the same kinds of things as perhaps parents or other authority figures in your life? Where are you pulling those quantum, those experiences up from the quantum potential? Okay? And I want you to think about, what experiences would you like that are very different? Or maybe where have you changed those experiences and then had vastly different outcomes because of that, right? Where have you changed those underlying beliefs and maybe had vastly different experiences because of that? And I want you to think, as you go to sleep tonight, like think about Jung, think about the collective unconscious, think about the fact that as you go to sleep, you are connecting to that. And try to see, one of the things I love to do is write down, like put a little journal or something like a notebook next to your bed and just say, I would like to maybe solve this problem tonight, or I'd like to have a little inspiration around this particular issue, and see what your connection to the collective unconscious sort of serves up for you to be able to answer that. The more that you do that, the more you're connecting in with your intuition. And I am a firm believer that your intuition is the thing that can help you to truly navigate that oneness of life in the best possible way, so that not only do you make the best decisions, but you get the best kinds of experiences set up for you. Okay, so I'm going to put a few more things up. You can look for those in the group as far as exercises that'll be helpful with this. But in the meantime, let me know. Please think about these things, and we're now going to move forward into really figuring out where your experiences and intentions are, and also being able to really finely tune. The rest of this program is actually on finely tuning your personal remote control so that you easily align. Again, just like changing the station on your TV, when we get to the bottom, this unconscious programming, your specific unconscious programming, it's like changing the channel, and now you tune in perfectly to what you truly desire. All right, hopefully this one was helpful for you today. Please let me know. There is the L'Arc de Triomphe right there for anybody who's just joined. And I will see you guys again tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here. See you soon.